Hey, I'm Dr. Toby. Welcome to the Rehab Mobile channel. In this video, I want to show you how you can stop pain in your hip that occurs when you're standing for long periods of time. If you're somebody who has a job or your regular daily activities involve you standing for long periods and you have pain in your hip and you want to get rid of it, I'm going to show you some basic things that are going to be really helpful that we've done with lots of patients to help them relieve that pain so they can enjoy their quality of life much better and stop avoiding activities or avoiding going out or avoiding standing for long periods like at the grocery line or in the line for the movie theater or wherever you might be standing in line or doing things where you're standing for long periods of time and it's aggravating you, causing you to just be discouraged and frustrated. And so if you're new to our channel, you should hit the subscribe button because we make videos on how you can stay healthy, pain-free, fit, and mobile. And if you want to live your best, feel your best, and just look your best, we make videos that are going to help you to achieve that. So let's get right into today's video. So people can have hip pain for lots of reasons, and without going into too much detail, I do want to mention that this is purely for your educational purposes. This is not necessarily prescriptive to what you might have going on. So you can have pain in your hip due to bursitis or due to osteoarthritis or due to a groin strain or so many other things. And if you do want some specific guidance, hit the link in our description because we have a button where you can talk to a PT first and simply give us some information and we'll be able to tell you exactly what's going on with your hip, but also what you need to specifically do about it. So what we're going to show you today is not necessarily guaranteed to help with your particular issue if you don't have the situations that this technique really applies to. So this is going to be helpful for a specific set of people with specific hip conditions, and if yours does not apply to that, then you just want to simply get some more information. So a couple things you want to do. One of the things that's going to help to relieve pain and discomfort in that hip is not only mobilizing or creating more space in our hip, but helping to activate stronger muscles or activate our muscles to provide better stability. So really simple exercise is a standing hip abduction like this. And for some people, this can be really challenging because of balance. But what we're working on, most people focus on the hip that's moving, but we're also working on the hip that's still as well. And so the hardest way to do this is to do this exercise without your foot coming back to touch the ground. Why this is helpful is because a lot of times people's hip, when their hip drops, like for example, if they're going up and down the stairs, their hip will drop and it's putting more tension on that hip, not only the joint capsule, but it's also putting more tension on certain muscles. And so that weakness in the hip is causing that joint to essentially collapse. And so when we're here and we're kicking that leg out, we're activating these stabilizers on this side, helping us to get stable. And we're also mobilizing this hip using our muscles. Now, for some people that can be really tough because they maybe have arthritis in their hip joint and the movement is really uncomfortable. Well, one of the things with this exercise that you may want to do is what I'm going to show you in a moment. So the other exercise is doing leg extensions and standing. And I can really feel that glute squeezing back there. And again, we're not only working this leg, we're also working this leg as well, because this leg has to keep us stable. So these exercises may be uncomfortable, but if you're someone, for example, that had arthritis, like we've had with lots of patients, this is probably less uncomfortable than this position, especially if you have a hip that doesn't move normally inside the socket. So our hip really is supposed to move in a nice position where there's no contact to the joint surface, but you are more likely to get contact in your joint surface if you have a really degenerated hip and you're moving into abduction, especially if the hip doesn't glide or move in the right fashion. So this will probably be less uncomfortable. Now, the way to make this happy medium between both is to actually make sure that when you kick your leg out to the side, you can actually combine them in both. So instead of just going purely to the side, just like this, instead of going just purely back, you can go to the side and back, kind of at a diagonal. And this is actually going to be a good position for opening up the hip. And what you can also do to make it even better is turn that foot out just a tiny bit, side and outward. So kick it out to the side and back while keeping that hip open. Now, a lot of people who have more of that anterior or pain in the front of the hip, it feels like it's grinding or clicking, this can be really, really helpful. And sometimes it may start off difficult. We've done this with lots of patients. It may start off difficult and it starts off challenging, but as they do it, they see that they get stronger and things of that nature. So the best way to really know if what you're doing is appropriate is talking to a PT so that he can kind of give you some clear guidance based on what you're dealing with. So let's go into another exercise. It's having yourself in a split stance. What's going to help you even more if you have really significant pain in your hip, especially in this area, or it feels like it's just achy, sore, throbbing, and it's even maybe warm to touch and things like that. Spreading those feet out, turning your feet out a little bit. So you don't need to turn it out super, a lot, but have those feet split. I'm gonna put my hands on my rear, and what I'm gonna do is just do some gentle mobilizations, just like that. So the back and forth may be tough for some people, but you can control how far back and forth you go. You can do nice and gentle. You can stretch it and do some gentle push thrust oscillations. This actually feels pretty good. People with back issues may not be as comfortable with this, but I'll show you from the other side or from a diagonal. So you want to make sure your hand placement, not on your back, it would have to be more so right on that pelvis, right where actually the glutes are, so that soft part. You want to put your hands there and really glide there. And so this is going to encourage opening of that hip. And so these are some basic things that you can do. If you're in the standing position, these are not only exercises that you can do in a regimented fashion, meaning I do these every morning or do these every night. You can also even incorporate these throughout the day. And this is really helpful because some people who have a difficulty standing for long periods of time, you're like, well, man, I got to take a seat, and maybe you don't have anywhere to sit, or maybe you're just like, I have to stand. I don't want to lose my place in line. Doing some of these little exercises can help to provide some temporary relief so that you actually are able to stand longer and to be able to tolerate, whatever activity that you're doing for a little bit longer. So if you found this video helpful, like and leave it in the comments what was most helpful about it. Share with somebody who you know can benefit from it. And we appreciate you for subscribing. If you do want to get your hip looked at because you've been doing having hip issues for a long time, maybe you've tried physical therapy before, maybe you've tried a lot of things before and it really hasn't helped, whether injections or whether maybe your physician or healthcare provider is recommending surgery, I want you to know that there's hope for you. I want you to know that there are some things you can do to overcome this challenge without having to rely on pain medications, injections, or even getting the surgery. We've helped hundreds of patients, even patients who are candidates for getting the total hip replacement. We've not only helped people who've gotten hip replacements, but we've helped people to avoid having to get one in the first place. And so if you want that kind of ability, we have what's called a hip pain diagnostic. What it is, it's a 30-minute assessment where we help you to assess what's going on with your hip and give you some clear answers as far as what exactly you need to start doing right now. And we provide you some treatment. And so the great thing about this is its specificity. Specificity is what you need. So YouTube videos and things are great, but the beneficial thing that's going to help you the most is getting some specific guidance from an expert who's a doctor of physical therapy to tell you exactly why your hip is this way. And so many patients have come to us saying, well, I didn't get anything evidenced on X-ray or MRI. It didn't show anything, but I have real hip pain. And this is where we come in, because we're not just going to look at what's going on. We're going to be able to test and tell you exactly what structures are involved and what things MRI and X-ray aren't able to pick up. So if you found this helpful, share it with somebody else who may also need it, and reach out to us by clicking that link in our description to talk to a PT first. Take care. See you next time.